Hi, welcome to Chef's Kitchen, where today's episode I'll be at Garden's Rest, where this pub has rich history and been gone through many significant changes. In this episode, I'll also be interviewing Dave, one of Sheffield's pub tourists, where he gives tours around Sheffield, discussing different pubs and their culture.
Hiya, my name's Dave Pickersgill. I'm Pub Heritage Officer for Sheffield and District CAMRA. It's Campaign for Real Ale. I'm also a member of the national core group of the CAMRA Pub Heritage Group. Today, there's an awful lot of really good pubs in Sheffield. If you go back 30 or 40 years, the pub that you would associate with Sheffield would be the Fat Cat, which opened in, let me get this right, 1981, August 1981. It's located probably about a mile or so from where we sit, in an area which at that time was, I think, total dereliction, things closing down, not a good area. And Dave Wickett got it for £30,000 and reopened as the first real ale a big real ale pub in Sheffield. Lots of variation, really. I mean, people generally are fairly friendly and fairly open. Service tends to be good, to be reasonably on the ball these days. Choice of beer is probably certainly is bigger than it's ever been in Sheffield. And I look back to when I first came to Sheffield in the 1970s, the choice of beer was about 10 different beers. Now on any one day, we reckon you could probably find 300-400 different beers, on an average Tuesday. This where we're sitting at the moment, the Garden's Rest, is a prime example of a community pub. It was owned by a large company, a multinational, John Smith's, went on to Mansfield's. They sold it because they thought it would never survive.
Yeah.
And the people who bought it, Pat and Eddie, ran it as a free house for 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
They then wanted to retire maybe about 10 years ago or so, as people do. And the pub is now, it was the second community-owned pub in Sheffield. So it's actually got about, don't know the exact number, but it's 300 or 400 different owners who all put a bit of money into it. So, community-owned pub, which is a fine example of an excellent pub in Sheffield. And in terms of community, and if you look at the things they have all sorts of stuff on here, art exhibitions, Pilates in the upstairs room once a week, all sorts of meetings. And
it's really inclusive.
It's a home for all sorts of things that happen in the area. I think we've sort of mentioned a couple of things already, talking about the Fat Cat and the Garden's Rest as examples. But I think pub culture in Sheffield, beer culture, the number of brewers in the city has gone up dramatically. In the 70s, 80s, there were 3 or 4 very large breweries, and that was it, which have all closed. Sheffield now has got more breweries per head of population than any other city in the UK. It's certainly got the biggest beer choice. And in terms of, as I say, choice, culture, working together, there's been dramatic changes, certainly in my lifetime, in the last 30 or 40 years. There are 2 or 3 events that do occur every year. There's Sheffield Beer Week, obviously, in March, which various events, tastings, walks, talks, and the like. There's the Sheffield CAMRA annual beer festival, which is in October, which is held now at Kellerman Industrial Museum. Next year, it'll be the 50th, which gives an indication of how long it's been going. And there's other pub associated events. North Sheffield's got the annual, coming up to Christmas, the carolling sessions, which occur at local pubs, which are local carols being sung by people who know how to sing them, as it were. But people have been known to come from America and beyond to go to those sessions. So there's lots of things do happen, and lots of events do happen in pubs. And every pub has got its own events, but there are a couple of 2 or 3 key things there across the city. Just, I think it's almost like every business. You've got a series of problems, a series of issues. People haven't got any money. We're likely to have a recession coming up because of changes in global trade. I won't mention the President of the United States' name. Tariffs will have an effect on raw materials. We're likely to see less beers using citra hops, because citra hops are grown in mostly in California. There's a 25% tariff on aluminium, so that's to do with canning. So prices will go up. The next few years for pubs is going to be difficult. The ones that will survive are the ones that do what they do, that they do it well. If you know, like the ones that do what they do well will survive. The ones that don't, I'm afraid. And Sheffield, I think, is in actually a good position to weather the next few years. In terms of brewery closures, we've actually had very few since the pandemic. If you look at breweries in Sheffield 5-6 years ago, yes, there are changes, but relatively few people have survived. Generally small businesses working with each other, helping each other out. And I think it's the culture which has been or is very good for the future of pubs in Sheffield. We've also got beer tourism. Beer tourism is, we as our local camera branch think beer tourism in Sheffield certainly brings more money every year into the city than the snooker competition, the World Championship. Because beer tourism is 365 days a year. People come to Sheffield literally every day to visit pubs and go around and go home again, which is excellent for the future. The City Council is beginning to pick up on that, and on the Welcome Sheffield website you do get mentions of beer culture, beer pubs and the like. So the future, there's going to be a sticky few years. Looking 5-10 years on, I think we'll be generally okay.
Yeah. Thank you for watching today's episode with Chef's Kitchen. Please like, share, subscribe, and comment on today's episode of Chef's Kitchen, and stay tuned for the next episode on Chef's Kitchen's YouTube channel.